Hello, good morning, good afternoon. This is a run through on my 1997 Honda Civic EK4, known as a VTIR here in Australia, SIR for most other parts of the world. I'll just run through, well, that guy's banging it out there. I'll just run through what I've done to it, what I use it for, and the like. Originally, this car landed into the country in 1997, started life in Canberra, and I don't know how many owners had it before I got it, but at least one of them did track it. A few mods were done to it beforehand. The guy I bought it off lived around the corner from me, and I assume he bought it just to part the thing out. I did find on Oz Honda a bit of a part out thread for it, and I bought it mostly stock in terms of external modifications. Since then, I've obviously done a few things to it. I use it for hill climbs and track days and time attack type stuff. We'll run through. We'll run over the body first, and then obviously show the best part under the bonnet. Just starting from the front, you obviously see we've got a Mustang. I believe it's GT500 vent. This is just an OE part from Ford. Pretty standard thing for a lot of Civic guys to put onto their car. Helps reduce engine oil and coolant temperatures, and looks pretty reasonable as well for a vent on a stock bonnet. The front lip I have on here is just a fake Mugen lip from eBay. I did buy it originally because it was a bit thicker or lower or taller than what the previous one I had. So it sits a little bit better on the splitter. Obviously I don't have that splitter here, but considering how hard it is to get pre-facelift EK9 and SIR lips, realistically you're stuck with fake lips these days, unless you want to pay exorbitant prices for a spoon lip, which basically sits on the ground at this ride height, and I'm not about that life. As we move around, the wheels I run on the front on the track are the 949 Racing 6UL in a 15x9 plus 36. I run an 8mm spacer to clear the upright. I run Hoosier A7 front and rear. On the front's 225/45 15. I've been through a bit of the tyre gallery, I suppose. Started with the 808Rs, RS3s, a couple of sets of NTO1s, AO50s, and kind of settled on the Hoosier. It's an incredibly soft tyre and works really well. It's not as, I suppose, peaky as what the AO50 is. It works at a lot of different... Let me start that again. The range of working PSI is a lot larger, so you can run, 1 or 2 or 3 laps without worrying too much if the PSI increases by a couple. And they're about the same price as an AO50 as well, which in Australia is really expensive. Behind those dirty, filthy wheels, we have the Porsche Boxster caliper using the honed dog bone. This is a pretty good OE setup. The calipers are were at one point pretty easy to get their hands on, and honed obviously make a kit that works well with the ratios and the pistons and all the scientific type stuff. The pads I've got in the front and also in the rear as well, the Project Mu HC Plus, the Japanese version. I've run those even when I did have stock calipers. I like how they work. A lot of people don't, but yeah, they work for me, so I'm happy to stick with them. Better the devil I suppose. In the rear we've got the RPF1 15x8 plus 28. This is with 205/50 15 Hoosier A7 as mentioned before. Probably the only spec RPF1 worth buying, because it's got a little bit of dish and the rest of them are convex. Sorry, Brett. But yeah, I've had a few sets of these wheels, and on the rear they don't quite fit over the brakes in the front, so that's why we've just got them on the rear here and not on the front. And obviously it's an 8. Since we're on the outside, the exhaust is just a Legalis R with a J's Racing mid-pipe. I gave it a bit of a polish. Came out pretty well, makes good Honda sounds, as we all like to hear with the B-Series engines. And there's a token Cool Guide tow point, which It's kind of redundant as a point of failure because the tow point is just, the stock tow point is quite literally just there. But it looks cool. So on the rear, obviously we don't have a lip, but the car looks pretty good, pretty reasonable, and obviously the colour is cypress green, which is, that guy is flying, which is not the greatest colour, and I'm happy to admit that, but it scrubs up okay. And this is a fake spoon mirrors, they're NRG. I did knock a stock mirror off driving in and out of my garage, so it was cheaper to purchase those than go and find another green mirror, so, but they look okay. The sunroof, this car does come, all the EK4s in Australia came with a sunroof, so this is the Narita Dogfight sunroof plug. I won't get too close because I'm definitely not a tradesman and my silicon job is horrible, but on the inside it just looks like that. Where are we? Let's go. So suspension that I run on it is MCA red coilovers, spring rates of 18 front, 9 kilos rear. I've got all the Hone geometry kit on here, which is the tie rods, the extended ball joints in the front. It's also got the rear brackets here, the Rollo, the geometry correction kit, so which you cannot see it all in there, but get the idea. I've got the stock EK4 sway bar in the front. It's the ASR in the rear, which is 24mm. You can't really see that, but you get the point. Everyone knows what a sway bar looks like. Seems to work for me, that setup, and very easy to manage. Handles well, isn't super oversteery. Probably errors on the side of understeer realistically, which I do not mind at all. It handles really well. So since we're here on the inside, we've just got a Revolution race gear suede steering wheel, 90mm dish with a checkered motorsports boss and an eBay extension. I'm obviously really tall, so I've got the seat a long way back, and obviously the steering wheel needs to come with that as well. We've got an shift light, which if I knock it out of gear, lights up like that. I don't know, it's probably more of a nice to have, and I probably use it more as a reference looking at footage afterwards, just to see where the revs are rather than while driving, because obviously we've got the revs right there. So the shifter is just the K-tuned extender, which I'll go in here. Actually, we should go there. With the honed gear knob on it. Yeah, pretty standard B-series item in there. The seat is a Cobra Suzuka Pro in the larger GT version. I just went to Revolution and sat in all the seats, and this is the one that worked for me. That's on the PCI rails, so I just slammed that as low as it can go and all the way back, and when I sat in it, it worked. So very happy with the position, no issues, and obviously you can see the fancy green carpet, which is filthy, along with a honed fire extinguisher mount. I use the RPM race harnesses, so the 6-point, that's just a Revolution race gear in-house brand, 3 inches, and which works with my Hans device as well. In the rear we've just got the AGI half cage with the harness bar in the main hoop. AGI like to run the harnesses all the way back here, which never makes sense because look how long they are. It also limits with how much stuff you can put in the back, because obviously drive this to and from the track. That strut brace doesn't do much, but it was floating around in the garage during these COVID times, so I thought I'd slot it in there. I'll probably remove it once I start putting everything back in here and going to the track, because that takes up some valuable space. If we go to the front, and obviously some great things, excuse me while I put this up here. So this is the stock B16A2, which came in the car from factory. Let me close this door. This has 325 kilometers, 325,000 kilometers on it, and I bought this car because of this engine. I wanted a VTEC, Honda, and even at that point, Integra Type Rs or DC2s were way too expensive, so I bought this. The previous owner has put a baffled sump in it back in 2011, so that saved me doing that, and I found that through the huge amount of service records that this car had well before I bought it. I haven't written anything down since I bought it because nothing will. Realistically, I'm probably never going to sell this car. I painted the heat shield black because there's a photo floating around on the internet of when you type in B16A2 of the engine in like a floating form, so I assume it was promotional photos, and it looks good in black. And I'm still running the stock header, mainly because by the time you put the cost of a header, you may as well then tune it, so an ECU and a tune, you're spending more than a set of Hoosiers, and I'd rather just go buy more tyres, and just because there's still so much time in my driving to be found. So obviously we're getting smaller and smaller gains as we continue to drive this car, but it just has been on the to-do list for a very long time. So we're using a DC2 airbox. It takes up a lot less room than the EK gearbox, and yeah, leave some room, particularly when I've just got a bigger radiator in there as well. This whole space here is taken up by the stock airbox. We do also have the Honda boosted elite in there as well, which I put it on and we haven't done any track days, so this is the second or third time I've driven it since I put it in there, so I can't really provide any feedback on that. I do have a Mishimoto oil cooler down here, which has been on the car for a couple of years. There's a Greddy sandwich plate way down the back there which you can't see at all. Just as a safer, something to be safe rather than sorry, and it's pretty easy install there as well. So slightly smaller, full river battery, a HC20, saves a few kilo, and I have blocked off, now that because I've deleted all the aircon, I've blocked off the front with some plates. So the only place realistically through the front of the car that any air can go is through the radiator and through the oil cooler. Little things that I think make a bit of a difference to keep the car reliable and being able to beat on it lap after lap. It's been very, very reliable so far. So yeah, just I don't even know what radiator that is, but it's got a spoon cap, Mishimoto hoses. That's kind of it in here. Obviously you can't look inside, but the gearbox has a stock first and second gear. Third, fourth and fifth are shorter M factory products, and it has an M factory LSD in it as well, just a helical I think they call it. It does open up sometimes when you lift the wheel, but you can just add a little bit of left foot brake and it tends to stay locked the whole time. So left foot braking is something I've worked on or trying to work on for a very long time, and yeah, seems to be paying dividends at this point. So what else do we have? I think that's it. If we back up and zoom in on it, obviously that's what it looks like with the bonnet up. Pretty reasonable car. Yeah, like realistically, and without spending a whole lot more money, there is nothing else that I want to buy at this point. Obviously the things like K-swaps do come in, but as I'm still driving the car faster, most times I take it out, or at least there's points of reference and things that can be to improve, and this continues to be reliable. I don't want to go and throw money at it that I don't need to at yet, so I'm sure one day we'll get there. Other than this, the only other things that I want to do to it is I've been playing with Honda, or working with Honda rather, on a bit of an aero setup. You may have seen photos of that previously. I destroyed the splitter last time I had this car out in March, which has been that long since we've been kind of allowed to go to tracks here. But there was huge promise in that setup with the rear wing and the splitter and the size and the shape of it, so we will eventually get around to building another splitter. I don't know when, but who knows. I'm just really keen to get onto a track and drive the thing, because I've been to the track twice. I did 6 laps at Winton and Broadford at Nugget National, so I'm kind of itching. In terms of modifications, like I said, K-swap's always there. There's the chopper copper flying over. There isn't much else. It's really, as is with the modifications, the Hoosiers on it, it's so much fun to drive. Driving at Broadford a few months ago was incredible, with no aero and just smashing laps all day. It was, I think, as much fun as you can have in the car, considering what this costs to put together, which the lap times, I think they're better than what lap time versus dollar is pretty incredible. So yeah, if you have any questions, obviously let me know. This is just me pointing the camera and talking, but hopefully it benefits someone. There's a heap of videos of me driving the car on my YouTube channel. If you ever see me at the track, let me know. Stop in, say hello. I'm kind of just mumbling now, but yeah, thanks for listening. If you have any questions, let me know. See you later.